What is going on, everybody? It's the Frost, and we're here for a SummerSlam 2020 review for August 23rd, 2020. SummerSlam, you'll never see it coming, was the tagline for this show. And up until the last 2 minutes or so of the show, that tagline was not fitting whatsoever. Now, this show had a lot of things going into it. We had, could Randy Orton become a 14-time world champion? Could Drew McIntyre make his career shoot off higher than it was ever before by beating Randy Orton? Dominic, how would he do in his first ever wrestling match on the WWE banner? Would he be better than Pat McAfee? Because Pat McAfee, the night before, had a fantastic opening match to any career he might have if he wants to be a professional wrestler. Could Bayley and Sasha Banks stop Asuka from winning either one of their championships? Or could Asuka win the WWE Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships? What about The Fiend versus Bray Wyatt? Could The Fiend recapture the Universal Championship that he should have never lost to Goldberg in Saudi Arabia? Would Alexa Bliss be involved? Spoiler alert, she was nowhere to be found and she had nothing to do with the main event. So I'll talk about that here in a bit. We started the show off with Apollo Crews versus MVP on the pre-show. WWE, for weeks, have been building this feud up. They've been feuding back and forth. Of course, they were supposed to have a match at Extreme Rules. Apollo Crews couldn't make it because of COVID, but of course they played it off as an injury. In the meantime, MVP came out with this beautiful new United States Championship that we see today. The new United States Championship that they've had commissioned and made since December of last year. So what was going to happen with the United States Championship? Eventually, they had a match on TV. Apollo Crews retained the title. MVP wanted the rematch. Apollo Crews this past Monday won a match against Shelton Benjamin, barring the rest of the Hurt Business from ringside. And we have our match here tonight. This could have been, this, if you would give Apollo Crews and MVP enough time, could be on the main card, maybe the match that starts the show, but of course they went with something different, and this match, unfortunately, was put on the pre-show, and with how little time they got, it wouldn't surprise me why it got put on the pre-show. They needed a match to cut time off of the main card, so what did they do? They went ahead and said, we're going to take Apollo Crews and MVP and just nix it from the main show. So that's what happened there. The match lasted about maybe 4 or 5 minutes, if that. Apollo Crews hits the what do they call it? The toss powerbomb and gets the pin. MVP does have some new music, so that's great. I mean, his music is from like 2007. Definitely need to get a redo. It wasn't one of those ones that I think he should have kept around. And Hurt Business have T-shirts now. They say Hurt Business in a gold foil on the front, and on the back they say I'm in. So there you go. So that was that. This, of course, was Renee Young's final night on WWE television. She did confirm and everything that this was it. She's leaving, so she is gone. This was her last night. Thank you, Renee Young, for everything over the last 4 or 5 years. You have been one, if not the best MCs. I'm going to say MCs in WWE. And it's going to be, WWE's not going to be the same without her. They're losing a great asset to them. But then we move on to the main card. We have SmackDown Women's Championship, Bayley versus Asuka. Of course, Asuka and Bayley are going first because this past Friday, 2 days ago, Naomi took on both Sasha Banks and Bayley in a Beat the Clock challenge. Banks beat Naomi in about 3 minutes and 41 seconds. So she set the time. Then Bayley took her on, and Bayley got beat in like 1 minute and 20 seconds or so. So Bayley didn't just not beat the clock, she didn't even win the match. So she's going first. And this was Asuka, Bayley, and Sasha Banks are the women's division right now. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Shayna Baszler should be up here as well. They should be the 4 that we have without having Charlotte or Becky around. WWE is slowly, hopefully, bringing Shayna Baszler up to where she will be a 4th pillar for the women's division. Nobody else, and Naomi too, she should be up there too. We should have like 5 pillars with Bayley, Sasha Banks, Asuka, Naomi, and Shayna Baszler. But we don't. And Naomi isn't getting enough opportunities, in my opinion. But and here's the thing, with Payback coming up this coming Tuesday, no, not this coming Tuesday, but next Sunday, the winner of this match should have to face Naomi for the Women's Championship on that show. Unfortunately, that's not going to probably happen because Bayley ends up retaining the title in a fantastic match as these two went out there and tore down the fucking building. The two best matches on this night, shockingly not shockingly at all, was Bayley versus Asuka and Sasha Banks versus Asuka. Nothing the men did on this show topped either of these matches. So we get down, this match is so good I can't even get into it for much of it. But Asuka gets free, but Bayley changes and hits a sunset powerbomb into the corner, which is one of her new favorite things to use. Bayley goes to the top for the flying elbow, but Asuka catches her with an armbar on the way down. Asuka stops the hold and kicks the screaming Banks back into the barrier from the apron. Asuka and Bayley brawl on the floor now. Asuka brings it back up, but has a kick to Banks. Banks has to kick Banks away. Bayley rolls Asuka up for 2. Asuka kicks her in the gut. Banks gets on the apron, but Asuka charges and knocks her off when Bayley moves out of the way. Bayley takes advantage, rolls up Asuka for the 1, 2, 3, and Bayley is your winner. So thanks to Sasha Banks, Bayley retains her championship, continuing in her 300 and I think it was 17-plus day title reign for the Women's Championship. After the bell, the music hits. Banks immediately rushes to the ring and unloads on Asuka while she's down. They double team Asuka and drive her into the mat with a double. They have them both on each side of her, lift her up and slam her down to the mat. So Asuka lost by nefarious means and then got beat down after the match. Who do you think was winning the match later on? We'll talk about it though later. So we see Dominic Mysterio backstage, which, by the way, Dominic, his dad, and his mom, Angie, came in together through a side door. And Dominic had a backpack on. It honestly looked like, when you see those videos or like movies or whatever of you seeing a kid going to college for the first time and his parents are there, seeing him or her off, that's what this looked like in the pre-show, was Dominic coming to, this is Dominic's first day at WWE University, and Papa Mysterio and Mama Mysterio are here to see him off. It was kind of funny. Hold on. Rey Mysterio, well, Dominic's back there, he's getting ready. His mom's saying something to him. He asked to speak to his dad alone. She walks off, and Dominic's like, "Listen, Dad, I know you want to be out there and you mean well, but I need to do this on my own." And Rey Mysterio is trying everything he can to talk his son out of not having him get involved if need be. But he's like, as much as it pains for me to say this, I will not get involved in your match. Tom Phillips, Samoa Joe, and Matt Saxon now ringside, and we go to the Raw Tag Team Titles match. Angel Garza and Andrade versus the Street Profits. Kevin Owens is on commentary for whatever reason in this match. Now, it has nothing to do with this match, but Kevin Owens, after this match was over, announced that tomorrow night on the Kevin Owens show, the guest will be Aleister Black. Why? I don't know. Why would, maybe it's a way to get Aleister Black to turn heel. Maybe they're going to do something different with Aleister Black, because Aleister Black, of course, the last time we saw him, had his hand in a cast because Seth Rollins damn near broke his wrist. And maybe this is going to be a gimmick change. There was a rumor going out there that Vince McMahon loves the man behind Aleister Black, but he doesn't like the gimmick. So maybe this is going to be like a gimmick change for Aleister Black, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night on Raw. So, one of my biggest gripes about this match right here tonight was, a couple weeks ago, Montez Ford was supposedly poisoned by Zelina Vega, as it was shown this past Monday. This match tonight, Like, it was like he wasn't ever poisoned. He didn't sell it. It didn't seem to, like, affect him whatsoever. Like, I know, yes, he had, like, a week, 2 weeks off or so, but still, if you want to sell the poisoning as being something devastating that kept him out for 2 weeks, it at least should have played into this match, and it kind of really didn't. Now, I'm going to be real honest with you. I thought there was no way Andrade and Angel Garza were not going to win these tag team titles. It just felt like this was going to be the time for them to lose the titles. That did not happen. It was a pretty decent match overall. More offense by Garza. Garza turns forward upside down into the corner and runs in him with a knee. Andrade gets up on the top rope after he tags in. And you know that old finisher, like when Alberto Guerrero came back, he was doing the double stomp in the corner while his opponent stupidly held the ropes to keep himself up so he could do the finisher. That happened here, except Ford didn't hold the ropes. Angel Garza actually held him in place so Andrade could do the double stomp, which looked a lot better than any time Alberto Guerrero did it. Now, a few minutes, the finish sees the Profits hit a double team on Garza, who tries to get a tag but couldn't as Andrade. What basically happened was Zelina Vega was on the apron, and she got kicked in the head. Montez Ford got kicked into Zelina Vega, and she fell to the side. Andrade goes over to see if he could help her out, see what's wrong, and that leaves Angel Garza on his own. He goes for the wing clipper on Montez Ford. Montez Ford gets out of it. We have the cash out into the frog splash. 1, 2, 3. And the tag team champions retain the championship. Decent match. Nothing I can say bad about it other than the fact that Montez Ford did not even pretend or act like the poisoning was ever a thing. It's just food poisoning is one thing, but having actual poison, it should have played a little bit of factor into something. I guess having 2 weeks off was just going to make him miraculously feel better. Now, after the match, the Profits are celebrating, and there are some tension between the Angel Garza and Andrade. They're arguing because Andrade was helping or trying to check on Zelina Vega while Angel Garza was out on his own. And then, of course, Kevin Owens makes the announcement about Aleister Black tomorrow night, which would be interesting. We get a promo for WWE Payback. The announcers lead us to a video, which, by the way, they have this Payback promo going a couple times tonight. And it's doing a rap song, and it says, it's WWE has had the word bitch said uncensored multiple times in the last 2 years or so. So when we get to this promo that they do for Payback, they have this rap song, and it's like, Payback is a bzzz. Like, you have the word bitch on your TV all the time. But when you have a promo for your next pay-per-view, which for some reason I still don't understand why it's next week. I know you have the Amway Center until the 30th. Why couldn't you have Payback be in September, Hell in a Cell be in October, and then you figure out everything after that? I still don't get why we're doing a pay-per-view next week. So, no DQ, loser leaves WWE match, Sonya Deville versus Mandy Rose. This was originally supposed to be a hair versus hair match, which unfortunately got changed due to what happened last Sunday with a maniac breaking into Sonya Deville's house. And of course, I reported that on Unscripted earlier today. Now, I do not blame Sonya Deville for wanting to change this to a loser leaves WWE match. She needs to get out of the limelight. She needs to get out of the public eye for however the hell long she wants to. Because that is something that you do not take lightly. Somebody was literally going to try and kidnap her, and who knows what could have happened. And her taking time away from WWE. Yes, Sonya Deville lost this match. It wasn't even the match really wasn't anything special. They had one table we brought in that did not get used. Let me see here. They did nothing else really. I mean, Mandy Rose struggled to get a table set up. They didn't really use any weapons. Now, Sonya Deville did put a standing dragon sleeper onto Mandy Rose. Looked like that might actually be something, but it wasn't. She ended up not getting that one. Now, like I said, not much happened here. You had a couple running knees by Mandy Rose towards the end of the match. Angel's Wings. She got up again. She hit her with another running knee to the face and gets the pin. After the match, Rose celebrates. Deville must leave WWE. She rolls to the floor and is shocked. She's upset that she let this match get away from her, and now she has to leave. She even tweeted out goodbye on Twitter. Otis runs down with his Money in the Bank briefcase to celebrate in the ring with Rose. Rose tries to do a caterpillar as Otis looks on. He's happy about that. They celebrate, and that was that. No matter what this match stipulation was going to be, Mandy Rose was winning this match. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This was always going to be Mandy Rose winning. Sonya Deville was going to get her head shaved. It's how it was going to go. It's the best. It would have been great heel fodder. You're not going to embarrass the babyface by having them lose a hair versus hair match. But real life intervened, and we got a loser leaves WWE match. How long is Sonya Deville going to be gone, though? I honestly think, she might not even want to come back. Maybe she goes and becomes a trainer at something at the Performance Center. This is her leaving the public eye, and she becomes a backstage person, or she does something outside of the ring. Maybe she doesn't want to be in that public light anymore, because that is something, like I said, that's something you don't mess with. That's something that could scar somebody for the rest of their life. Her life literally could have been, taken from her because some maniac obsessed with her decided to act on something he's been planning for 8 months. That sick son of a bitch hopefully will be, thrown in jail for as long as the law allows it. So, we get the promo for the next match, and it's Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. Now, Seth Rollins with his attire game is top notch. Back in, I don't remember, I think it was 1993, 95, 94, 95, I think it was 96, one of those years when you had Halloween Havoc. Was it 95, 96? Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio, and you had Rey Mysterio came out as, I think it was the, who the hell is that? The purple, it's the Phantom or whatever his name is, that superhero, I can't remember, it's before my time. That superhero, or dark, the Phantom or something. Well, Seth Rollins came out with that attire on his gear inspired by that. Rey Mysterio showed later on Twitter that he was actually wearing shoes. One that looked like him from that match, and another one with Eddie Guerrero on it to commemorate that match from Halloween Havoc. That was fucking awesome. But this, of course, is Dominic's first match. Buddy Murphy's out there. Rey Mysterio's out there. Rey Mysterio vows to not get involved because his son asked him not to. Now, this is a very personal rivalry. But Seth Rollins has done major damage to Rey Mysterio. He has embarrassed Rey Mysterio. He has embarrassed Dominic. And what do you think a personal rivalry street fight would start out as? Would it be kendo sticks, chairs, a running attack by Dominic to get the upper hand on Seth Rollins to get payback on his father? No. WWE decides we're going to start with a lockup. We're going to do a test of strength. We're going to start the first 5 minutes of this match being a standard WWE type match. What in the fuck? I know this is Dominic's first match in WWE, probably in wrestling, period. And I will say this match, as it went on, Dominic did the best he could do in this match. I'm just going to say this right now, Pat McAfee had a better debut match than Dominic Mysterio. Was this a bad match? No. Was it a mess? Was it convoluted? Was it overbooked? Hell yes. I mean, the finish was great. The finish is setting up for probably next week's Payback show. And we'll talk about it in a second. But it's this is a personal rivalry. These two Dominic has been wanting to kick Seth Rollins' ass. and the first thing you're going to do is a collar and elbow tie-up. Then you're going to do a test of strength. You're going to do a couple of hip tosses. You're going to just have a standard WWE match for the first few minutes of this match. This should have been a knockdown, drag-out fight. I mean, eventually it somewhat got to that, but it should have been a knockdown, drag-out from the moment that bell rung. When that bell rings, Dominic should have charged in, got the loot, swiped his legs out from underneath him, started beating the brakes off of him, got out there, got a kendo stick, and started whacking the hell out of Seth Rollins, but he didn't do that. No, they started it as just a normal match, and it just boggles my mind how dumb WWE can be with their booking. So, after Dominic gets his flurry in, he does get some kendo stick shots in eventually on Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins gets the upper hand, and he is just beating this guy up. Kendo stick shots, chair shots. He's beating him up. He keeps looking at Ray. He's like, are you going to get involved, Ray? You can stop this at any time, Ray. He's just getting after. He just wants Ray to get involved to stop the pain he is going to suffer, make his son suffer. So, Dominic climbs to the top rope and nails a terrible frog splash a little bit later on in the match after he gets Seth Rollins down. Dominic Mysterio, I know he's still young and stuff, but don't do a frog splash until you actually learn how to master it, because that was terrible. Rollins kicks out just in time. Dominic rolls to the floor for a breather. They tangle, and Rollins nails a super kick. Rollins with a big powerbomb in the middle of the ring. He taunts Ray while he keeps Dominic down some more. Rollins finally gets some handcuffs. Rollins is getting a little kinky here from Murphy. So, and the fake boos pick up, which, by the way, the Thunderdome was no better tonight compared to last 2 days ago. Rollins taunts Ray. Ray's wife, Angie, comes walking down the ramp, but Ray meets her and talks to her. Dominic rolls Rollins up from behind for a 2 count. Murphy ends up in the ring, and he levels Dominic with a big knee. Brings Dominic to the floor and tries to damage his eye with the ring steps, but Ray makes the save. He beats the hell out of Murphy for a second, but Rollins beats down Ray at ringside. He launches Dominic into the barrier. Ray gets double teamed again. Then they handcuff Rey Mysterio to the middle rope now, leaving him dangling on the floor. Rollins and Murphy pick up some kendo sticks, but Rollins turns and sees Ray's wife. He slowly walks to her but Dominic makes the save from behind. Dominic unloads on both heels on ringside. He throws Murphy over his shoulder, hits a 619 from the outside to in. Then he goes up top for a frog splash, but Rollins gets the knees up. Rollins drags Dominic away from Ray, who is now in the ring, but cuffed, still mounted. Still cuffed. Rollins mounts Dominic from behind. Dominic and taunts Ray with it. Rollins breaks, gets up, and nails a big stomp in the middle of the ring while Ray reaches for his son. Rollins covers, pins, and gets the win. Seth Rollins has beaten Dominic in his debut match in front of his father, while his mother watches from afar. As this is not the end. I was hoping this would be the end and we would move on. Seth could go do something. Dominic and his side could do something. Apparently, obviously, this is not going to end. Paybacks are coming. It's going to be Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio at Payback. Maybe, in my opinion, they might do a tag team match. I mean, why not? Both Quarterman got involved in this match. So, it's either going to be Seth versus Ray again, or Seth and Buddy Murphy versus the Mysterios. That's where I think they're going to go. Rey Mysterio, of course, has been wanting to have a match with his son. And he's wanting to have a tag team match with his son, so this is probably what's going to happen. After the match, Seth Rollins stands tall with Murphy as the music hits. Ray is still reaching for Dominic, but his cuff has him attached to the rope. A referee checks on Dominic. Rollins exits the ring and goes to replays. Rollins and Murphy watch from the stage as Ray is freed and checks on his son. Ray talks to his son. They hug. and that was that. So we are going to have that match coming next week. I guarantee it. It's either going to be, like I said, Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins, or we're going to have a tag team match. And with the fact that Murphy and Rey Mysterio both somewhat got involved in the match completely, I could see the tag team match being more likely than another singles match, even though I want this feud to end. You got the match between Dominic and Seth. Let it end. Move on. This has not been getting any better. Asuka versus Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's Championship. There is a stat on Sasha Banks. This is her 5th Women's Championship reign. Here's some stats. She has only held the title for 103 combined days. Has never successfully had a women's title defense for the Raw Women's Championship. Has never held the championship for more than 3 weeks. Would that succeed? Would that continue tonight? Would she continue to lose in her first title defense? You bet your ass she would. This was another great match. All 3 women deserve a share of the MVP prize because all 3 of them went out there, kicked ass, took names, and was one hell of a fucking match. Unfortunately, I missed the beginning of this match because my internet decided it wanted to pew for about 5 minutes. So I have no idea what happened at the beginning of this. But I did get to see, which of course you have Spectrum, internet, and cable are on the same line. So, when the internet goes down, the Wi-Fi, the thing goes down. Or when the cable goes down, the internet goes down. And that's what happened. But Banks hit a nasty powerbomb in this match. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if Asuka, if she was like maybe Asuka at one time shot on her, so she was shooting back on her. Asuka having concussion would not be surprised after that. But Banks counters a big shot and delivers knees to the face, but Asuka kicks out. Banks ends up missing a frog splash. Bayley talks Banks up, but Asuka goes and gets the Asuka lock. They tangle some more, and Asuka gets dropped into a pin for 2. Banks goes right into the Banks statement, then tangles some more for the mat and counters with submissions. Bayley gets on the apron, but Asuka misses a hip attack on both of them. This chaos leads to Asuka getting the Asuka lock on the Banks. Banks goes to the ropes, but Asuka pulls her back, and she eventually taps out. The streak for Banks continues on singles championships. After the match, Asuka takes the title and celebrates as the music hits. Banks sits up and she looks confused, angry. Bayley comes in to apologize, but Banks stares over at her. Then back at Asuka. Asuka makes her exit with her title while Banks is looking at Asuka. There was a picture somebody put on Twitter, and it's Asuka. It's Banks looking over and disgusted towards Asuka, towards the entranceway, and Bayley is looking down at her 2 championships with this big smile on her face, thinking, "I still got my titles. What about you, Sasha?" Next week will be, I think, the final nail in the coffin between these 2. It has to happen. Hell in a Cell is going to probably be the pay-per-view we get after we get Payback. I think that's the next one on the schedule in October, which makes me wonder why we're getting Payback next week. But it's going to happen. It has to happen. It's been teased. It's been off and on teased, and it's time for the teasing to stop. This was just another chip on the Banks and Bayley breakup, which is going to happen eventually. I don't know who they're facing for the tag team titles next week. I wish we would have known going into this show, unless they drop the Alexa Bliss thing completely from Bray Wyatt, and I'll talk about that here in a bit. This makes no sense. I don't know who they're going to face. The Riot Squad haven't done a damn thing to warrant a title shot. Neither have Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville are no more because Sonya Deville is out of here. Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss right now don't seem to be a tag team anymore because Alexa Bliss who knows what's going on with her. Which Alexa Bliss did tweet out tonight saying you have to sin to be saved, and I don't know what that means even after tonight. So I just don't know who's going to be facing them next week. I'm sure we'll have some kind of match tomorrow night, or Friday night, with the winners going to pay back to face Bayley and Sasha Banks, and it's probably going to be either the Riot Squad or the Moronics, because those are really the only teams we have besides Bayley and Sasha Banks. Unless you're going to have Asuka and Shayna Baszler win the women's tag team titles, which would be fucking stupid. I just don't know. Then we move on to the Raw Championship picture and the WWE Championship. Going into this match, the two biggest names in WWE for now, on the Raw side, that aren't named Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio, are Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. This has been building since after Extreme Rules, and of course Randy Orton wants to be a 14-time world champion. I don't think Randy Orton should win this championship, and there's been rumors that if Randy Orton was to win tonight, he was going to hold the championship to WrestleMania, and then, of course, have a title match against Edge. Well, those plans seem to be off the table as of right now, because Randy Orton does not win this championship. I was, like, after the Bayley and Sasha, after my internet went down, it's like it was becoming real fuzzy. I got to see a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but what I did get to see of this match, Randy Orton being Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre being a beast as he can be. I missed the end of this. I don't know. I missed like the fun, like it blacked out for a second, and all I know is I heard Drew McIntyre's music hit. Drew dodges the RKO, comes right back and ends up ducking another RKO, backsliding Orton for the pin to retain. He doesn't even win with the Claymore. What the fuck is that? If he's gonna duck the RKO twice, duck, turns around, Claymore gets the win. That should have been how that ended. Orton and McIntyre are both stunned. Orton goes right to the floor and sits against the barrier, stunned at his loss. Drew recovers and takes the title. He says this isn't his title or Orton's title. This is everybody's title. He stands tall with the title on his music hits. He has a few more words for Orton before going to the corner to pose. Orton looks on from the floor. Drew stands tall in the ring once again, yelling out messages to Orton. Drew kisses the belt at the end of the segment. So, that was a little disappointing for the end of the match, but we'll see what happens next week. I feel like that was, like, if you're going to have this big match that you have be the WWE Championship match, and that's the finish you come up with, tells me that Vince McMahon himself or somebody did not want to change, like, it has last-minute changes written all over it. That's what it feels like to me. How are you going to have Drew McIntyre, who's been kicking everyone's head off from left to right, Randy Orton, who's been RKOing everybody from left to right, go out there and win and have Drew McIntyre win with a backslide? Randy Orton should not get a rematch next week. He didn't lose by nefarious means. It wasn't a quick referee. There was nothing. Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre should be done. Randy lost. Fair and square, there is that. Is Drew McIntyre going to have a match next week? I don't have a clue. Terrible ending, though. Terrible ending. And conveniently, my internet and everything got back to working perfectly for The Fiend versus Braun Strowman, because, let's have funkiness happen during, like, the WWE Championship match when I want to see how that match plays out completely. And I get to watch this Falls Count Anywhere match, which I hate WWE Falls Count Anywhere matches. Back in the Attitude Era, and I think the Ruthless Aggression Era, they were a little bit better because they would end almost anywhere. Tell me the last time a Falls Count Anywhere match actually ended anywhere but the ring or the ringside area in WWE. So basically the gist of this match is Braun Strowman goes out, beats the hell out of the Fiend. The Fiend keeps getting up. Running power slam, Fiend gets up. They fight into the gorilla position, which surprisingly had nobody there, which of course COVID, but I'm surprised there wasn't one or two people there, like nobody was manning the stations. Bray Wyatt hits the Sister Abigail inside the area. They come back out. They fight some more. Bray Wyatt's down again after he gets hit with another running power slam, kicks out. Then Braun Strowman grabs a box cutter, cuts a section of the ring open, pulls the padding off, ends up eating 2 Sister Abigails, pin 1, 2, 3. That was that. As soon as the match was over, spear! 20 or 30 shots, 5 or 10 shots to the face. Roman Reigns, out of nowhere, spears Bray Wyatt, beats the piss out of him, then goes outside, goes to Braun Strowman, hits him with a spear, and says, I made you. You're no monster without me. Goes back inside, hits another spear on Bray Wyatt, grabs the championship, says it's always been my show, something like that. Grabs the title, holds it up, and the show goes off the air. So WWE's never seen it coming was Roman Reigns, as we all should have figured. This is WWE, classic WWE 101. With Braun Strowman getting beat and Roman Reigns coming back, it would not surprise me if Roman Reigns gets the match next week, or they make it a triple threat match and Roman Reigns beats Braun Strowman, winning the Universal Championship, giving Bray Wyatt a 1-week transitional championship reign. And then the Roman Empire goes the way Vince McMahon has been wanting it to go for years on end. And surprisingly, there won't be any real people there to boo him. It'll be fake cheers and fake audio thinking that everyone loves Roman Reigns. Now, what was the point of adding Alexa Bliss? I know there's the whole tagline of anybody who messes with the Fiend, they change. If you wanted to turn Alexa Bliss heel and end the partnership with Nikki Cross, the time would have been to do it when Nikki Cross lost against Bayley. Alexa Bliss could have attacked her, called her a failure, and turned heel from there. If you were bringing Alexa Bliss into not 1 but 3 segments or so with this feud, and then you don't use her at all to factor into this match, what was the fucking point? Again, they could have did something different for Alexa Bliss, but they didn't. And I just don't get it. Now, I'd say this show was maybe a 3.5 out of 5. It wasn't a terrible show. It wasn't a great show or a good show. Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Asuka are your MVPs of the night. They put in the work. They gave you 2 of the best matches of the show, of the year, honestly. Asuka, if you want to have a singles MVP, of course it would be Asuka for putting in double duty. But I'm going to give it to all 3 women because they went out there and they brought it. But I would have to say that there was, I think Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville was the down of the show because it was a nothing match. They went out there, they had a match, and then it ended like it was over with. But that is your SummerSlam review. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. Find me on Instagram at The France Club. And I will see you guys tomorrow for Monday Night Raw inside the Thunderdome. Until then, my name is The France, and I'll see you guys.